Real salary hikes projected to be among the smallest in Asia. A look at the new renminbi banknotes.
Some countries in Europe have taken a fortress approach. There is no part of the world that can be a fortress.
And Europe and Africa try to tackle migrant crisis.
Good evening. A human resources consultancy firm has projected a 4.5% pay increase for local workers next year. But after adjusted for inflation, the rate of increase will be among the smallest in the region. Owen Fung reports.
According to ECA International's latest survey on global salary trends, Hong Kong workers can expect to earn on average 4.5% more next year. Adjusted for inflation, that's a 1.5% increase, slightly lower than the 1.6% rise this year. Looking at wages in various industries, the consultancy firm says there have been smaller increases for tourism and retail workers.
Last year, the retail and tourism sector had salary increases which were higher than the average, whereas this year, the retail and tourism sector is 4.5%, so in line with the average.
The firm explains this is due to a slowdown in the number of mainland tourists visiting Hong Kong, along with a drop in their spending. Compared with other countries and regions in Asia, the city's projected real salary increase stands at the third lowest, with workers in only Macau and Myanmar faring worse. The real salary increase in Vietnam, meanwhile, is the highest in Asia, with mainland China in second place. Globally, ECA International expects salaries to go up by 5.1% on average next year, which will be slightly higher than this year. Owen Fung, TVB News.
Now to money matters, and the new 100 yuan banknotes are being unveiled. Authorities hope the new technology used to print the latest banknotes will help fight counterfeiting. Evelina Leung has more.
The People's Bank of China is issuing the latest edition of the 100 yuan banknote. The last time it did that was 10 years ago. The new banknotes contain extra security features to prevent counterfeiting. The number 100 in the middle of the bill will be printed in color-changing ink, so it will turn from gold to pink to green when viewed from different angles. There will also be a new security line and an extra serial number on the new notes. Xinhua News Agency pointed out that the new technology used for the notes makes it easier for people to distinguish them from the fake ones and will help maintain financial order. State media also said the technology used is in line with international standards. People have welcomed the new notes. This woman is one of them. She says she has received fake 100 yuan bills before and hopes the new ones will help crack down on the problem. According to mainland media, 280 million yuan worth of new 100 yuan bills will be transferred to Hong Kong. Local residents will be able to get a hold of them starting tomorrow. The first edition of the fifth series of 100 yuan banknotes was issued in 1999. The second was in 2005. The old notes will stay in circulation in the meantime, but the central bank will gradually collect and destroy them. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
A Hong Kong man is drowned while vacationing in Malaysia. He died while trying to save his two young children. This tragedy happened in Rue Beach in Langkawi on Tuesday. The 50-year-old victim was with his 11-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son at the time, and they were said to be walking on the beach when the kids fell into the sea. The father jumped in to try to save them, but he was swept away by waves. His body was later found 700 meters from where he was reported missing. His two children were rescued. The Immigration Department is in contact with the family and will provide the necessary assistance.
To Myanmar, where the latest election results still point to a landslide win for the party of pro-democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi. Even though President Thein Sein's ruling party was crushed in the polls, U.S. President Barack Obama called to congratulate him on running a fair election. Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy is just a handful of seats shy of securing the 329 seats it needs to form a majority in the 664-member two-house parliament. The NLD has won at least 243 seats in the lower house and 83 in the upper house, for a total of 326. The military hasn't formally conceded defeat, but claims it will respect the outcome. That gives Suu Kyi the confidence there will be no repeat of the 1990 election, when the NLD victory was overturned by the ruling military junta.
Well, they've been saying repeatedly that they'll respect the will of the people and that they will implement the results of the election.
U.S. President Barack Obama has called President Thein Sein to congratulate him on successfully running Myanmar's first free and fair election in a quarter of a century. Thein Sein has congratulated the NLD and agreed to Suu Kyi's request to hold talks to ensure a peaceful transition of power. While she's not allowed to be president, in her own words, Suu Kyi's made it clear she'll call all the shots. She insists her party will choose a leader they can control. The armed forces have also congratulated the Nobel Peace Laureate, but their considerable power over political institutions could pose a major obstacle to the NLD's ability to execute policy. That's because the military automatically holds 25% of the seats in parliament. Plus, the commander-in-chief gets to nominate the heads of interior, defense, and border security. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins a two-day visit to the UK, where he's expected to sign billions of dollars worth of trade deals with Britain. He will also hold talks with his British counterpart, David Cameron, have lunch with Queen Elizabeth II, and address Parliament. His trip comes amid rising troubles for him at home. That's where economic growth is slowing, and his party is under fire for allegedly marginalizing India's minorities at the expense of the majority Hindu population.
To the latest in Europe's migrant crisis, Sweden is defending its decision to reintroduce border controls, saying it's no longer possible to properly control the situation with so many migrants arriving. This comes as European and African leaders hold a summit aimed at stemming the flow of people to Europe and tackling the problems that caused them to flee. Tony Sabine reports.
As European Union and African leaders began a summit in Malta on the refugee crisis, more people died on the Aegean Sea overnight, trying to reach the shores of Europe. Officials said 14 people drowned, including 7 children, while another 27 were rescued as their boat sank between Turkey and the Greek island of Lesbos. Meanwhile, more EU member states are tightening border controls. Sweden became the latest European country to introduce border checks to try to control the flow of migrants into the country. More than 200,000 refugees are expected to reach Sweden this year, one of the highest in Europe. As he arrived for the summit in Malta, Sweden's Prime Minister said the curbs were introduced because of fears the influx of refugees posed a threat to public order. It comes as Slovenia announced it was building a razor wire fence along its border with Croatia, a move which Zagreb has criticised. These developments give greater urgency to the Maltese talks, where EU leaders have been negotiating with their African counterparts on an aid package to help stem the flow of people from Africa to Europe.
We want to work with African countries, which are the countries of origin for people, to ensure that people don't feel the need to make this journey to Europe. So in the UK, for example, we're putting 200 million extra aid into Africa to help to ensure that we provide the circumstances there that ensure that people don't make this journey.
But while European leaders talk about cooperation and working together, African delegates warn against the EU closing its doors completely.
Some countries in Europe have taken a fortress approach. There is no part of the world that can be a fortress. We should be open to legal migration, and also Africa and Europe should be discussing beyond raw materials, beyond trade, but industrialization.
This two-day summit in Malta was called 6 months ago after a spate of boat sinkings in the spring saw hundreds drowned. The aim is to tackle the economic and security problems that cause people to flee and to persuade African countries to take back more failed asylum seekers. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
And still ahead in our newscast, llama boat collision defendant loses appeal. An environmental dispute in Canada. And the Russian president calls for probe into doping allegations.
Our favourite vegetable in Britain is the humble potato.
In addition to potatoes, Brits love salads, dairy, sports drinks and meat. What do these foods really do for our bodies and brains? Tonight, Britain's favourite foods. Are they good for you? At 9:30 on Pearl's Wellbeing. Scientists explain strange weather phenomena.
You can get very, very large icicles.
It looks like a tsunami on land.
Storm that gave snow in the Atacama Desert wasn't your usual run-of-the-mill storm.
Friday, strangest weather on Earth at 9:35 on Pearl.
Vitality will give you instant premium discounts and a variety of lifestyle rewards. Take charge of your health. Take charge of your rewards.
From early pregnancy, the doctor encouraged us to exclusively breastfeed our baby until she's about 6 months. Breastfeeding benefits the health of mother and baby. Of course, our family is giving full support, and the baby will be smarter too. I'm certainly supporting it. Sustained breastfeeding also strengthens mother-child bonding. We support you to continue breastfeeding as long as you wish.
Thank you.
This is my boyfriend, and we sleep together and everything, don't we, honey?
FBI.
You think maybe we can kiss like one more time?
You had your fun.
That was fun.
Friday, Bones, Season 8 at 10:35 on Pearl.
Welcome back. An appeal by the skipper of one of the vessels involved in the deadly llama collision 3 years ago has been thrown out. Lai Sai-ming was skipper of the Sea Smooth, operated by Hong Kong and Kowloon Ferry. Lai was jailed for 8 years in February after he was found guilty of 39 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of endangering the safety of others at sea. He appealed and tried to have his jail term reduced to 18 months. That was rejected today by the Court of Appeal. The court said Sea Smooth was traveling at a high speed and Lai did not take any steps to prevent the collision that also involved Llama 4 of Hong Kong Electric. 39 people were killed in the 2012 National Day disaster.
The University of Hong Kong Council is holding a special meeting right now to elect an acting chairman. The council has been without a chairman since the term of Leung Chi-hung expired last week. Council members arrived for the meeting this afternoon. Leung was also there, but he said he's not attending as a council member. He said he's only there to explain to other members about the interim injunction order that the university obtained against the publishing of confidential council meeting recordings.
University of Hong Kong researchers say they have made fascinating discoveries about vaccines. They found a medicine that can boost the effects of influenza vaccines. And Winna Wong tells us more.
Hong Kong recently suffered one of its most deadly flu seasons. Nearly 600 people died from the seasonal influenza so far this year.
According to the government, it's because the World Health Organization made some wrong predictions when it came to which influenza strain would strike. So the vaccines people took prepared them for the wrong battle, and it didn't work so well.
But that may change.